Good morning. So I'm Brigitte Shull from Cambridge University Press, and I'm here today to talk to you about peer review infrastructure. I was invited because of the Blockchain for Peer Review initiative that Cambridge is a founding member of, but I'm also just going to give a little bit of the view on peer review from Cambridge as well as part of my presentation. So like many publishers in our space, Cambridge is focused right now on efforts around supporting open peer review, transparency, reviewer recognition, and reviewer support. So lots of the themes that John touched on in his introduction. While the work that we're doing in peer review cuts across these areas, a lot of attention has gone into thinking about and contributing to the evolving landscape of peer review, which has led for us to think more about the infrastructure behind peer review. Part of that understanding is also where we're best placed to experiment in peer review. So while I don't sit in an editorial team anymore, my team does spend time researching and developing various efforts in scholarly communication in collaboration with other departments. And unsurprisingly, with peer review, we collaborate pretty closely with journals editorial. So I'll share a little bit more information about kind of what's happening across the press. So our approach to our objectives and trying to answer some of the questions has really been to collaborate and pilot, which echoes the tech trends talk this morning, and I think mirrors the approach of lots of other publishers here in the room. But the ways that we're doing that are through the Blockchain for Peer Review initiative, which is a cross-publisher group, and that's really a collaborative effort to be able to pilot whether or not blockchain can have an impact in the peer review space. We are also collaborating with bioRxiv to be able to integrate submissions from their preprint server to our peer review systems and make that process more efficient for authors and researchers. We already have a form of post-publication commenting available for our journal, RCP Psych, but we also have a hypothesis on our journals for a kind of a pilot, and we're thinking about one of the use cases beyond that annotation piece would be able to think about how we could do post-publication as a form of peer review more broadly and experiment with that a bit. For Peer Review Week 2018, we launched a reviewer hub with resources for peer reviewers, and we're currently assessing an open peer review pilot, So our offering is looking at ensuring that open peer review materials are an integral part of the article to which they relate, which has some technology development that we're working on, while at the same time ensuring that they can be accessed and cited as freestanding contributions to the scholarly record in their own right. So more to come on that further down the line, so I won't be focusing on that today. And finally, we're also working to do more around supporting reviewers and reviewing data and other kinds of supplementary material. So at the end of the day, we view peer review as an integral part of the process to ensure high-quality publication, as I'm sure everybody in this room does. But that guides the choice of tools we use within our own infrastructure rather than the other way around. So we often use the term trusted partners at Cambridge to describe ourselves, for our authors, for our societies, for our communities, for our customers. Trust is at the center of scholarly communications, as the tech trends also reminded us of this morning. But unfortunately, anxiety around peer review has been growing. So I have on the slides here just some of the kind of common anxieties around peer review. And John referenced some of these in his intro, but overall, a real starting point for the Blockchain for Peer Review initiative was that idea of trust and was that idea of being able to bring more transparency to the system. So a lot of those conversations did lead people to take a look at open peer review, as Jennifer just shed light on, but this initiative focuses on it from a different side of the same coin. So when I was first trying to wrap my head around blockchain technology, I spoke to a friend who works in digital currencies. The analogy he used stuck with me. He called it a magic pen with permanent invisible ink. And what got me excited about that point around the power of blockchain for publishing was thinking about the fact that the technology often works with existing infrastructure and is a way to add a layer to improve access, resilience, and trust. So as I mentioned, Cambridge joined the Blockchain for Peer Review as a founding partner with the goal to build a cross-publisher infrastructure for creating a peer review ledger. So we view blockchain as a means, not the goal in and of itself. So, why blockchain? It's decentralized and it's anonymous, but it's also a chance for us to be able to learn about other applications of blockchain within scholarly communications. So the blockchain enables the peer review ledger, but it also creates a neutral infrastructure for peer review information, which hopefully this slide demonstrates what the possibilities are and how having that blockchain we would be able to build in different directions. But I think, in the first instance, that ledger is probably the most valuable to institutions. So while there's not necessarily a question about trust, truly from an institutional perspective, I think institutions trust us in the room to be able to conduct that peer review. The fact that there's not that transparency, by opening up that information, we would be able to verify peer review in a quick and easy way, and also hopefully be able to give more recognition to reviewers through that. So as you can see on the recognition piece, we are working with ORCID to connect with their reviewer recognition work, and we see that as being something that there might be more opportunities for in the future. So we are, at this point, we just finished the pilot, the proof of concept, I should say. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a look about what that high-level architecture looks like. So you can see there's the user management systems, so those are Editorial Manager or Scholar One, those types of systems. They connect with ORCID. They connect then in with the Catalysis, the vendor that we're working with, the blockchain piece there, and they have the peer review parser. But all of that anonymous data about the reviewers, so if anybody is thinking GDPR, that piece sits within the publisher's environment. So that's that piece at the bottom middle there. And so all of that is happening before the data officially gets to the blockchain. So by that point, it's been made anonymous, and that way publishers have the keys to be able to unlock the data, and other people potentially would be able to be given keys, but that information is not violating any GDPR rules. So in terms of where we're at right now, the founding members have been focused on the proof of concept and testing and thinking about what next steps could be. And I'll talk a little bit about the next step that we're focusing on. But we've also been dealing with some of the less exciting side of things, so funding and what our legal structure could be going forward. And so once we resolve some of those questions, we'd be able to bring on new publishers. So our goal is absolutely to be able to work with a broader group of publishers. And in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you with ideas and thoughts about what's possible and in what direction you think the opportunities should be pointing us in. But we will be doing more of a call for publishers in the future as well. So, and I should mention our other partners. So I've referenced Catalysis. They're a vendor based in Amsterdam doing the technology build piece for us. The other founding members are Taylor and Francis and Springer Nature, and Digital Science has kindly provided the project lead and kicked the project off to begin with. So it's been a really great collaboration. We also have Wellcome Trust as an advisor on our steering committee, and we'll hopefully be bringing other funders on as advisors in the future. So as far as next steps, we are going to be working on integration with Crossmark. So that would be a review validator, and that would be also kind of trying to build into the existing infrastructure and making sure that this peer review infrastructure extends and adds value and isn't necessarily replacing something that people are already finding really valuable. So the integration with Crossmark, the review process can be verified to external audiences through review data stored on the neutral platform, which hopefully will build more integrity and trust in the process on top of what is already a trusted process. And publishers or editors and reviewers can determine on a journal or even a manuscript level what aspects of the peer review process are made open. So whether the reports are open or the names are open or neither, if it's not open at all. So that openness can be managed flexibly and efficiently with safety settings stored on blockchain. And so the publishers can have their own independent information. So the reviewer validator is going to be built as an MVP. So it's likely that the dynamic settings for openness might not be done in the first release, but that's what we're looking at doing over the next year. So just to show you a little bit more about what that could look like. So you have the review there. Oh, sorry, I lost my animation, but you would be able to, below that review piece, you would also then be able to add in the report hyperlink to be able to click through that, or be able to add in the name of the reviewer, depending on what that openness should look like. So moving past the blockchain for peer review, I also mentioned that we are working with bioRxiv, with John and his team, to be able to bring 6 of the press's life science journals into an integration, so that way authors would be able to submit their article for peer review straight from bioRxiv. So to lay the groundwork for Susan talking about making peer review more efficient, that absolutely is our reason in working with bioRxiv. Our goal is to support the researcher by reducing effort and time during the submission of manuscripts. So given that bioRxiv has already integrated with over 100 journals, I don't claim this as Cambridge's innovation, but I do think it shows how we've moved away from a closed and pretty proprietary view of peer review infrastructure into something more open and collaborative. The proposed integration comprises automated submission of bioRxiv and linking of the preprints to associated versions of records as well. So the editorial manager sites are ready and configured to receive papers, and that will be delivered through an FTP transfer from bioRxiv through their bench press system. So it's still in development, the Scholar One piece, but we'll be able to go live with the editorial manager piece soon. So these 2 screenshots up on the screen show what an author sees in his or her author area on bioRxiv, and note that the journal titles are suppressed to prevent authors from sending duplicate submissions to the same journal. And my last example of where we're collaborating and piloting, so I mentioned the annotation for transparent inquiry. So this is a collaboration with the Qualitative Data Repository, which is at Syracuse University, and Hypothesis. And the goal for ATI was to harness open source technology to be able to increase transparency in published qualitative research. ATI provides a digital overlay on top of journal article pages that connects specific passages to author-generated annotations and links to specific data sources. So these are all archive and digital repositories. So we are working with the Qualitative Data Repository on ways for authors to create ATI annotations during the writing process and thereby make their annotations available to reviewers prior to publication as well. So while we are still in the pilot phase with this, we are thinking about the use case of post-publication commenting, which I know some people would think of as connected to peer review, and some people might think that that's pushing the boundaries. I'm not necessarily trying to be provocative, but rather share information about what I thought people might find interesting. So we are thinking about right now some of the different drivers for researchers around commenting, because it's very much a complicated set of drivers and motivators there, and trying to work with Hypothesis to understand from their perspective how to meet some of those needs. But that is something that we're hoping to be able to experiment a bit more with in the future. And that's it for me. Thank you.